Some analysts believe oil prices will surge if Tehran's threat to close the Strait of Hormuz is implemented, with Hong Kong's motorists being among the most impacted. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Iran's parliament has called for the closure of the Strait of Hormuz after U.S. airstrikes on the country's nuclear facilities. Separating Iran and the United Arab Emirates, the strait is among the most essential sea routes on the planet. If closed, access to the sea will be completely cut off for oil-exporting nations in the Persian Gulf, such as the UAE and Qatar. Sources say up to 20 million barrels worth of oil pass through the Strait of Hormuz on a daily basis, accounting for 20% of all oil shipments on Earth. Some analysts say the closure of the strait will only add fuel to the fire of the problem with soaring oil prices around the globe. Foreign exchange analyst Jasper Lowe noted that Hong Kong's economy will suffer collateral damage from such a geopolitical move. He stressed the city's stock market will be negatively impacted given the combination of inflation caused by U.S. tariffs and rising oil prices. Other victims from the strait's closure include Hong Kong's motorists, who will be subject to far higher gasoline prices. According to the Consumer Council, the China National Petroleum Corporation has already raised oil prices to a 2-year high, just one day after U.S. airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. Ringo Lee, honorary life president of the Hong Kong-China Automobile Association, said Hong Kong is already one of the cities with the highest oil prices in the world. He urged authorities to take action and suggested an oil price regulatory mechanism to help consumers. Meanwhile, the logistics sector emphasized the strategic location of the Strait of Hormuz as an air transport hub between the Middle East and Europe. The sector, which regularly transports goods via sea to the Middle East before switching to air transport to Europe, said if the strait is closed, they will have to resort to less convenient maritime routes or modes of transport such as the Central European Rail System. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The U.S. has issued a worldwide security alert days after it attacked 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Iran blasted the raids at a United Nations Security Council meeting and vowed to take proportionate retaliation. Beijing's envoy to the UN said the U.S. attacks had damaged its own credibility and said China is joining Russia and Pakistan in drafting a resolution calling for a ceasefire and peace negotiations. Danny Zhou has the story.
U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to strike Iranian nuclear sites have thrust Americans into a growing divide. Demonstrations sprouted up in New York over the weekend as part of a coordinated protest that swept across 15 cities. While some Trump supporters showed up on Times Square to hail the military operation, around 100 anti-war protesters condemned the use of force in Iran, carrying signs that read, "Trump is a war criminal, stop the war on Iran," and other slogans. Similar rallies were staged outside the White House. The Answer Coalition, one of the organizers of the emergency protests, has called for an immediate end to U.S. and Israeli raids on Iran and its sovereignty. Major U.S. cities were on heightened security alert. Law enforcement agencies deployed additional forces to brace for any potential retaliations. Sources say Tehran sent a communique to Trump days before the U.S. bombings, threatening to greenlight attacks by its covert spies inside the United States if it came under attack. Meanwhile, in Karachi, Pakistan, crowds of Shiite Muslims marched the streets with placards of Iran's supreme leader in a show of support for Iran's self-defense against the U.S. and against Israel. United Nations Security General Antonio Guterres urged restraint during an emergency meeting of the Security Council. The acting U.S. ambassador to the UN, Dorothy Shea, firmly defended the targeted military operation that sought to dismantle Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity, proclaiming the Iranian regime cannot have a nuclear weapon. She said Iran has obfuscated its nuclear weapons program and stonewalled good faith efforts in negotiations. Iran's envoy, meanwhile, lashed out at the U.S. and Israel for destroying diplomacy and waging a ridiculous war. He warned the timing, nature, and the scale of Iran's proportionate response will be decided by its armed forces. China's permanent representative to the UN, Fu Zong, pointed out the U.S.'s attacks on Iran has damaged its own credibility. Fu said the move not only violated the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and international law, but also infringed on Iran's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity. For dialogue and negotiations, he proposed the parties to the conflict should reach an immediate ceasefire to prevent a spiraling escalation, while effectively protecting civilians. He said there's still hope for a peaceful solution to address the Iranian nuclear issue through diplomatic means. He also urged countries to stay committed to the political settlement and reach an agreement acceptable to all parties. China is ready to work with the international community to uphold justice and restore peace and stability in the Middle East, Fu noted. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Welcome back. Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra is seeking to fend off calls for her resignation. She says all coalition partners have pledged support for her government, which she says will seek to maintain political stability to address threats to national security. Shinawatra has faced criticism for her perceived mishandling of a border row with Cambodia, including a phone call with former Cambodian leader Hun Sen, which was leaked last Wednesday. Tracy Furness reports.
Scenes on the streets of Phnom Penh last Wednesday as several thousand Cambodians joined a unity parade in support of the country's frontline forces during an ongoing border dispute with Thailand. Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra faced criticism for her perceived mishandling of the border row, as well as over a leaked phone call between her and Cambodia's former leader, Hun Sen. After Hun Sen leaked the full audio of the call, Paetongtarn appeared to kowtow before the veteran Cambodian politician and to denigrate a senior Thai military commander, which crossed the line for her critics and some former allies. A major coalition partner, the Boom Jai Thai Party, quit the ruling alliance soon after the leak. Paetongtarn wrote on X, "The country must move forward, Thailand must unite, and push policies to solve problems for the people," after meeting with remaining coalition partners, including the United Thai National or UTN party. Prior to the post on X, the UTN had looked set to demand her resignation in return for backing the ruling coalition. The government and the country's military share a common position to back democratic principles and follow the provisions of the constitution, Paetongtarn said. Activists have scheduled a protest in Bangkok starting on June 28th to demand Paetongtarn's resignation. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Back locally, two autonomous buses collided in the airport restricted area. The airport authority said nobody was injured. It suspended the use of all driverless buses. Samantha Lee reports.
An online picture shows the collision of two driverless buses. The crash happened near the airport tarmac, where one bus hit another bus right side. The airport authorities said the incident occurred at around 4 p.m. on Sunday. They said two driverless buses used to transport staff had a minor collision inside the restricted area. No one was reportedly on board, and the overall airport operations were not disrupted. According to a preliminary investigation, the safety system of both vehicles was working. The safety system had lowered the vehicle speed to under 5 kilometers per hour. The authority said it has requested the related companies to submit reports on the incident. UC is the company that produced the autonomous shuttles. Li Wingfu, chairman of the Staffs and Workers Union of Hong Kong Civil Airlines, said worries arose among some employees in the airport about the safety of the autonomous cars. He said the vehicle's system should be modified to help organize the movement of different driverless cars in the area. Currently, some autonomous cars are having a trial run in Tung Chung, Yuen Long, and the West Kowloon Cultural District. Duncan Chiu, lawmaker who represents the innovation and technology sector, estimated that the incident might be due to mechanical faults or errors of the system or the bus's sensor detectors. However, he believes vehicle users will learn from each error. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The MTR today said that the company will extend the cat-dog carrying trial scheme on the light rail to the end of August. MTR first launched the scheme in May, hoping to provide more convenience for passengers wishing to commute with their cats and dogs on weekends and public holidays. After gathering public opinion, the MTR said most pet owners have followed the trial run's rules, leading to a smooth operation. The railway company decided to extend the initial 2-month trial run to the end of August. The Independent Commission Against Corruption, or ICAC, today hosted the city's first Building Management Summit. The event gathered over 300 representatives from sectors including government bureaus and owners' corporations. Memo Singhai reports.
The summit kicked off at the ICAC headquarters in North Point this morning. ICAC Commissioner Wu Yingming said that building management is a complex issue that involves different stakeholders. He hopes the summit will act as a platform for information exchange between attendees to discuss building management-related issues. Under the mandatory building inspection scheme, owners of private buildings aged 30 years or above must go through examination and have the required repair work done. As of the end of 2023, more than 28,000 buildings were subject to examination, accounting for 60% of the private buildings in Hong Kong. About 7,700 buildings will be required to undergo examination in the next decade. In July, the amended Building Management Ordinance will take effect. Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs Alex Mack said the ordinance will enhance the transparency and accountability of the operations of owners' corporations.
This amendment aims at protecting those who are genuinely helping and serving their own buildings. The amendment is to act against those irresponsible OC members or other owners or any parties.
The ICAC says it has received a notable number of allegations of corruption in private building management in recent years.
The number of complaints is very high, but it does not imply it is a corruption element inside, because sometimes there may be some misunderstanding, and after an investigation, then you'll just clarify the situations to the stakeholders, and then the problem will be solved.
Wu said government bureaus will take turns to host events in the future to provide the latest building management information and assistance to members of the public. Memo Singhai, TVB News.
The National University of Defense Technology has developed a type of robotic mosquito that can infiltrate behind enemy lines and collect military intelligence. Some experts describe the technology as having extremely high reconnaissance capabilities. Mainland media reported that the tiny robot, held between the fingers of this university research team member, is only 2 centimeters long and weighs no more than 0.3 grams. Because of its small size, the mosquito can penetrate deep into enemy territory without having to face traditional reconnaissance obstacles. A number of analysts believe the robot is among a string of China's recent breakthroughs in the field of drone development. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly with a look at Hong Kong's F&B industry. See you then.